The 30-Day Stoic Challenge. Rewire your brain. What if I told you that Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, wrote his most important thoughts not for conquest or glory, but to literally rewire his own brain? While he commanded legions and ruled an empire, he knew the real battle was happening inside his mind. Here's the shocking truth that neuroscience is just now catching up to what the Stoics figured out 2,000 years ago. Your brain is constantly rewiring itself based on what you think about most, and most people are accidentally programming themselves for anxiety, anger, and misery without even realizing it. But here's where it gets interesting. The ancient Stoics discovered a mental training system so powerful that it can literally change your brain structure in just 30 days. We're not talking about positive thinking or wishful mantras. We're talking about a scientifically backed method that Roman emperors, slaves, and everyone in between used to become mentally unbreakable. In the next 30 minutes, I'm going to show you exactly how to hijack your brain's natural rewiring process and build the kind of mental strength that makes you unstoppable. By the end of this video, you'll have a complete roadmap to transform your mind and your life forever. 1. The Reverse Gratitude Technique. Here's something that will completely flip your understanding of gratitude on its head. Most people practice gratitude by listing what they're thankful for. But there's a hidden problem with this approach that nobody talks about. When you constantly remind yourself of what you have, your brain gets used to those good things and stops appreciating them. It's like eating your favorite food every single day until it becomes boring. Your mind adapts, and suddenly, what once made you happy becomes invisible background noise. But what if I told you there's a way to make everything in your life feel like a precious gift again? What if there's a technique so powerful that it can transform your entire relationship with what you already have, making ordinary moments feel extraordinary? The ancient Stoics discovered something revolutionary about human psychology that modern science is only beginning to understand. They found that the secret to lasting happiness isn't about getting more things, but about seeing what you already have with fresh eyes. This technique is so counterintuitive that most people dismiss it without trying it. Yet it's been used by emperors, slaves, philosophers, and warriors throughout history to build unshakable contentment. The reason it works has everything to do with how your brain processes loss versus gain. Scientists have proven that humans feel the pain of losing something twice as strongly as the pleasure of gaining it. This is called loss aversion, and it's hardwired into your survival system. The Stoics figured out how to hack this psychological principle 2,000 years before neuroscientists even knew it existed. They realized that if loss feels more powerful than gain, then imagining loss could make you appreciate what you have more than any gratitude list ever could. Think about it this way. When was the last time you really noticed your ability to see? Probably never, unless you've had an eye injury. When did you last feel grateful for having a roof over your head? Probably only when you heard about someone who was homeless. Your brain is designed to take good things for granted because constant appreciation would be exhausting. But this survival mechanism is making you miserable in modern life. You're surrounded by abundance that your ancestors could never have imagined. Yet you feel empty because your brain has marked it all as ordinary. This is where the first technique in our 30-day brain rewiring challenge comes in. Technique number 1 out of 15 is called the reverse gratitude technique. Instead of listing what you're grateful for, you're going to spend 5 minutes each morning imagining losing everything you currently have. This mental exercise, called premeditatio malorum by the Stoics, actually makes you appreciate what you have while building resilience. It's like emotional insurance for your happiness. Here's exactly how to do it. Every morning before you check your phone or start your day, sit quietly and imagine losing 3 things you value. Start with relationships. Picture your closest friend or family member no longer being in your life. Feel that emptiness for 30 seconds. Then imagine losing your health. Picture yourself unable to walk, see, or think clearly. Feel that limitation for 30 seconds. Finally, imagine losing your home, your job, or your financial security. Picture yourself starting over with nothing. Feel that uncertainty for 30 seconds. The magic happens next. Open your eyes and look around. Suddenly, that ordinary morning coffee tastes incredible. That text from your friend feels precious. Your ability to walk to the bathroom feels like a miracle. Your brain has been reset to see abundance where it previously saw emptiness. This isn't about being pessimistic or dwelling on negative thoughts. This is about using controlled contrast to reveal the wealth that's been hiding in plain sight. When you practice this technique consistently, something profound happens in your brain. You stop taking your current life for granted and start living with the deep appreciation of someone who almost lost everything. The Stoics called this technique the foundation of a happy life, and neuroscience now proves they were right. Are you ready to see your world with completely different eyes? 2. The observer self. Split-heeled. There's a mental superpower that most people never develop, and it's the reason why some individuals stay calm in chaos while others fall apart under the smallest pressure. This ability separates those who control their emotions from those who are controlled by them. The fascinating is that this isn't about suppressing feelings or pretending everything is fine. It's about developing of your mind that can watch your emotions without being swept away by them. Think about the last time you got really angry. In that moment, you weren't thinking clearly. You weren't making rational decisions. You were essentially hijacked by your emotional brain, and your logical mind was nowhere to be found. This happens because most people live in a state of emotional fusion, where they become one with whatever they're feeling. When they're sad, they are sadness. When they're anxious, they are anxiety. When they're angry, they are anger. But what if you could experience emotions without becoming them? What if you could feel anger without being angry, experience sadness without being sad, notice anxiety without being anxious? This might sound impossible, but it's actually a skill that can be developed through practice. The ancient Stoics understood this principle and created a specific technique to build what they called the ruling mind, the view that remains steady regardless of external circumstances. Modern psychology has validated this approach through something called metacognition, which is essentially thinking about thinking. When you develop metacognitive awareness, you create space between yourself and your thoughts and emotions. This space is where freedom lives. This is where you get to choose your response instead of being driven by automatic reactions. The neuroscience behind this is incredible. When you practice observing your emotions, you strengthen the prefrontal cortex, the of your brain responsible for executive function and emotional regulation. At the same time, you reduce the activity in the amygdala, the brain's alarm system that triggers fight or flight responses. You're literally rewiring your brain to be less reactive and more responsive. Here's what most people don't understand about emotions. They're not facts about reality. They're temporary experiences happening in your consciousness. You can have the thought that you're worthless without believing you're worthless. You can feel angry without acting angry. You can experience anxiety without being controlled by anxiety. The key is developing the observer of your mind that can witness these experiences without judgment. This brings us to technique number 2 out of 15, called the observer self-split. This technique trains you to become 2 people, the one experiencing emotions and the one watching yourself experience them. You create a mental narrator that commentates on your feelings like a sports announcer. Instead of saying, "I am angry," you learn to say, "Here we see John getting angry about traffic." This creates psychological distance and emotional control. Here's how to practice this technique. Throughout your day, especially during emotional moments, start narrating your experience in the third person. If you're feeling stressed about work, think, "Here's Sarah feeling stressed about her presentation." If you're frustrated with Yorner, observe, "There's Mike feeling frustrated because dinner is late." If you're worried about money, notice, "Here's Lisa experiencing anxiety about her finances." The magic word here is experiencing. You're not your emotions. You're the one experiencing emotions. This simple shift in language creates profound changes in your brain. You move from being the actor in the drama to being the director who can make conscious choices about how the scene plays out. Practice this technique for just 1 week, and you'll notice something remarkable. Your emotions will still arise, but they won't control you the way they used to. You'll have space to breathe before you react. You'll find yourself asking, "What would be the wise response here?" instead of just following your first impulse. The observer self-split technique is like developing an internal wise advisor who can guide you through difficult moments. This advisor doesn't eliminate your emotions, but it prevents you from being overwhelmed by them. Are you ready to meet the of yourself that can stay calm in any storm? 3. The dichotomy reframe method. Here's a simple question that will reveal why you're probably wasting 90% of your mental energy every single day. Look at your biggest worry right now and ask yourself this: can you actually do something about it? Or are you just spinning your wheels thinking about something completely outside your control? Most people spend their entire lives stressed about things they cannot influence while ignoring the things they can actually change. This mental confusion is the root cause of unnecessary suffering. Your brain treats controllable and uncontrollable problems the same way, flooding you with stress hormones and anxiety, regardless of whether you can actually solve the issue. It's like your mind is a smoke detector that goes off whether there's a real fire or just burnt toast. You end up in a constant state of alert about problems you can't fix, while missing opportunities to improve things you can actually influence. The ancient Stoics discovered something profound about human psychology. They realized that peace of mind isn't about having no problems. It's about focusing your energy only on problems you can actually solve. They developed a mental sorting system so effective that it can eliminate most of your stress in minutes. This isn't about positive thinking or denial. This is about strategic thinking that directs your mental resources where they can actually make a difference. Imagine if you had a personal assistant whose only job was to filter your problems into 2 categories: things worth your attention and things that are complete wastes of time. This assistant would save you hours of worry, prevent countless sleepless nights, and help you become incredibly effective at solving real problems. The dichotomy reframe method is exactly this kind of mental assistant. Here's why this technique is so powerful. When you clearly separate what you control from what you don't control, something magical happens in your brain. The stress response that was scattered across dozens of concerns suddenly gets focused on just a few actionable items. Your mind stops spinning in circles and starts moving in productive directions. Technique number 3 out of 15 is called the dichotomy reframe method. Every stressful situation gets split into 2 columns: what I control and what I don't control. You spend 0 mental energy on column 2 and pour all your focus into column 1. This simple sorting technique eliminates 90% of unnecessary stress. Here's exactly how to use this technique. When you feel overwhelmed, take out a piece of paper or open your phone's notes app. Draw a line down the middle. Write, what I control on the left side, and what I don't control on the right side. Now list every aspect of your stressful situation in the appropriate column. Let's say you're worried about a job interview. What don't you control? Whether they like you, what questions they ask, who else is applying, their decision timeline, or their final choice. What do you control? How well you prepare, what you wear, how early you arrive, the energy you bring, the questions you ask them, and how you follow up afterward. Once you see this clearly, your stress immediately becomes productive. Instead of lying awake, worrying about whether they'll like you, you focus on preparing great answers to common questions. Instead of obsessing over the competition, you research the company thoroughly. Instead of trying to predict their decision, you plan your best follow-up strategy. The dichotomy reframe method works because it aligns your mental energy with reality. You stop fighting battles you cannot win and start winning battles you can actually fight. This technique transforms anxiety into action and worry into wisdom. Are you ready to stop wasting your mental energy on things you cannot change? The negative visualization, evening ritual. There's a hidden reason why some people seem unshakable when challenges arise, while others crumble at the first sign of difficulty. It's not that resilient people don't face problems. It's that they've already solved tomorrow's problems tonight. They've developed a mental skill that most people never learn, a technique that transforms potential disasters into manageable situations before they even happen. Most people live in a state of perpetual surprise when bad things occur. They get blindsided by setbacks, overwhelmed by obstacles, and emotionally hijacked by unexpected challenges. This reactive living keeps them in a constant state of stress because their brain is always trying to catch up with reality. But what if you could flip this script entirely? What if you could train your mind to be prepared for anything life throws at you? The secret lies in understanding how your brain processes threats and challenges. When something unexpected happens, your nervous system triggers a fight-or-flight response that clouds your judgment and narrows your thinking. But when you've already mentally rehearsed handling a difficult situation, your brain recognizes it as familiar territory. Instead of panic, you experience calm competence. Instead of chaos, you experience clarity. This principle is used by elite athletes, military personnel, emergency responders, and successful business leaders. They don't just hope for the best. They prepare for challenges by mentally rehearsing their responses ahead of time. This mental preparation creates neural pathways that activate automatically when real problems arise. Your brain literally knows what to do because it's already practiced the solution. The ancient Stoics took this concept and refined it into a powerful evening practice that builds unshakable mental resilience. They understood that most emotional suffering comes from being caught off guard by life's inevitable difficulties. So they developed a technique to eliminate the element of surprise while simultaneously building confidence in their ability to handle whatever comes their way. Here's what makes this technique so effective. When you visualize challenges and mentally rehearse your responses, you're essentially giving your future self a detailed instruction manual. You're programming your mind with calm, rational solutions that will automatically activate when needed. It's like installing mental software that runs in the background, ready to execute the right response at the right moment. This approach works because of something called stress inoculation. Just like a vaccine exposes you to a small amount of a virus to build immunity, mental rehearsal exposes you to controlled doses of imaginary stress to build psychological immunity. You develop emotional antibodies that protect you when real challenges arise. Technique number 4, out of 15, is the negative visualization evening ritual. Before bed, you visualize 3 potential challenges for tomorrow and mentally rehearse handling them calmly. This mental preparation prevents emotional hijacking when difficulties actually occur. You've already solved tomorrow's problems tonight. Here's your step-by-step process. Every evening before sleep, spend 10 minutes thinking about your next day. Identify 3 potential challenges that could arise. These might be work-related problems, relationship conflicts, health issues, financial concerns, or unexpected obstacles. The key is to choose realistic scenarios, not catastrophic fantasies. For each potential challenge, visualize yourself handling it with complete calm and wisdom. See yourself taking deep breaths, thinking clearly, and making smart decisions. Imagine yourself staying centered while others panic. Picture yourself finding creative solutions that others miss. Visualize yourself learning and growing from the experience. Let's say you have an important meeting tomorrow. Visualize the technology failing, then see yourself calmly switching to your backup plan. Imagine a difficult question you can't answer. Then picture yourself honestly saying you'll research it and follow up. Visualize running late due to traffic. Then see yourself calling ahead and arriving composed despite the delay. The magic happens when these or similar situations actually occur. Instead of your usual stress response, you'll find yourself thinking, "I've already handled this mentally. I know exactly what to do." Your brain will access the calm, rational responses you rehearsed, and you'll navigate the challenge with surprising ease. This technique doesn't make bad things stop happening. It makes you unstoppable when bad things do happen. After 30 days of this practice, you'll notice that very few situations catch you off guard anymore. You'll develop the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can handle whatever life brings your way. Are you ready to become emotionally bulletproof? The memento mori reality check. There's one fact about your existence that changes everything the moment you truly understand it. Yet most people spend their entire lives avoiding this reality. This single truth has the power to instantly eliminate petty worries, dissolve meaningless conflicts, and make every ordinary moment feel precious. It's been hidden in plain sight your whole life, but society has trained you to ignore it, because confronting it requires courage that most people don't possess. The truth is this: every single moment you're experiencing right now will never come again. This conversation, this day, this phase of your life, this version of yourself, even this breath you're taking, is completely unique and irreplaceable. While you're worrying about tomorrow or regretting yesterday, the present moment is slipping through your fingers like water. And once it's gone forever. Most people live as if they have unlimited time. They postpone important conversations, delay meaningful experiences, and waste precious hours on trivial concerns as if they'll live forever. They get angry about traffic jams, stressed about social media comments, and upset about minor inconveniences, completely forgetting that their time on this planet is finite and incredibly brief. But what if you could break free from this illusion of endless time? What if you could develop a perspective so powerful that it instantly puts every problem in its proper place? What if you could access a mindset that makes you fully present and deeply grateful for whatever is happening right now, even if it's not perfect? This isn't about becoming morbid or obsessed with death. This is about using the reality of your mortality as a wake-up call to start truly living. When you remember that your time is limited, everything becomes more vivid, more meaningful, more worthy of your full attention. Suddenly, that argument with your partner seems less important than expressing your love. That stressful work deadline matters less than appreciating the fact that you have work to do. The ancient Stoics understood this principle so deeply that they made it a daily practice. They would regularly remind themselves of their mortality, not to become depressed, but to become fully alive. They knew that remembering death is the key to remembering life. When you truly grasp that this moment will never repeat itself, you stop taking it for granted and start experiencing it fully. Modern psychology has proven that people who regularly contemplate their mortality report higher levels of life satisfaction, stronger relationships, and clearer priorities. They stop sweating the small stuff because they can see the difference between what matters and what doesn't. They become more present because they understand that the present is all they actually have. This perspective shift happens instantly when you truly internalize the temporary nature of everything around you. That annoying coworker won't be in your life forever. That difficult phase you're going through will eventually end. Even your biggest problems are temporary blips in the grand timeline of existence. But so are your most precious moments, which is why they deserve your complete attention. Technique. Number 5 out of 15 is called the Memento Mori reality check. You set 3 random phone alarms daily, and when they go off, you remind yourself that this moment will never come again. This death awareness technique makes you present and eliminates petty worries. It's like a reset button for perspective. Here's how to implement this powerful practice. Set 3 alarms on your phone at random times throughout the day. Don't choose specific times like noon or 5 p.m. Instead, pick unexpected moments like 10:17 a.m., 2:43 p.m., and 7:29 p.m. When each alarm goes off, stop what you're doing and say to yourself, "This moment will never come again." Then, take 30 seconds to really absorb your current experience. Notice where you are, what you're seeing, what you're feeling, who you're with. Recognize that this exact combination of circumstances will never happen again in the history of the universe. This specific moment is unique and unrepeatable. If you're stressed when the alarm goes off, ask yourself, will this matter in 5 years? If you're bored, look around and notice something you've been taking for granted. If you're happy, savor the feeling and commit it to memory. If you're with someone you love, really see them and appreciate their presence in your life. This simple practice creates profound shifts in how you experience daily life. You'll find yourself getting less upset about minor problems and more appreciative of simple pleasures. You'll stop rushing through your days and start inhabiting them fully. Are you ready to wake up to the preciousness of this very moment? Part 6. The Sympathia Connection Practice. Here's a perspective shift that will instantly transform your most frustrating relationships and eliminate the anger that's been poisoning your peace of mind. Right now, there are people in your life who annoy you, frustrate you, or make you genuinely angry. Maybe it's that coworker who always interrupts, the driver who cut you off this morning, or the family member who pushes your buttons every time you see them. Here's what you don't realize about these people. Every single person who irritates you is fighting battles you know absolutely nothing about. That rude cashier might have just learned their parent has cancer. That aggressive driver could be rushing to see their child in the emergency room. That difficult neighbor might be dealing with depression, financial crisis, or a crumbling marriage. The ancient Stoics understood something profound about human behavior that modern psychology has now confirmed. People don't act badly because they're inherently evil. They act badly because they're in pain, fear, stress, or confusion. Their difficult behavior is almost never about you personally. It's about the internal struggles they're facing that you cannot see. This insight changes everything when you really absorb it. Instead of taking people's actions as personal attacks, you start seeing them as cries for help or signs of inner turmoil. Instead of responding with anger, You respond with curiosity and compassion. Instead of making enemies, you recognize fellow human beings who are just trying to survive their own challenges. The Stoics called this understanding sympatheia, which means universal connection. They believed that all humans are part of one interconnected system, like organs in the same body. When one part is suffering, the whole system feels the effects. This isn't just philosophical poetry. This is practical wisdom that can revolutionize how you navigate difficult relationships. Technique number 6 out of 15 is the sympatheia connection practice. You remember that everyone who annoys you is fighting battles you know nothing about. When someone cuts you off in traffic, you imagine they're rushing to see a dying parent. This interconnectedness thinking transforms anger into compassion instantly. Here's how to practice this life-changing technique. The next time someone does something that irritates you, instead of your usual reaction, pause and create a compassionate story about why they might be acting this way. Don't try to find out if your story is true. The point isn't accuracy. The point is shifting your emotional response from anger to understanding. If someone is rude to you at the store, imagine they just got fired from their job and they're worried about paying rent. If a friend cancels plans last minute, picture them dealing with anxiety or family problems they're too embarrassed to share. If your partner snaps at you over something small, consider that they might be overwhelmed by work stress or health concerns. This practice works because it interrupts the automatic anger response and replaces it with empathy. Your brain can't be furious and compassionate at the same time. When you choose to see others as struggling humans rather than personal enemies, your stress levels drop immediately, and your relationships improve dramatically. The beautiful thing about this technique is that it makes you feel better regardless of whether your compassionate story is accurate. You get to choose between carrying anger and resentment or extending understanding and peace. You get to decide whether difficult people will poison your mood or teach you deeper compassion. After practicing this for just 1 week, you'll notice that very few people can disturb your inner peace anymore. You'll see the pain behind their difficult behavior instead of taking it personally. You'll become the kind of person who brings calm to chaos and understanding to conflict. Are you ready to transform your most challenging relationships through the power of compassion? Part 7. The Present Moment Anchor. Technique. There's a hidden time machine in your mind that's constantly stealing your happiness, and you probably don't even realize it's running. This machine takes you on unwanted journeys to past failures and future fears, leaving you feeling anxious, depressed, or completely overwhelmed. Right now, while you're watching this video, your mental time machine might be planning tomorrow's schedule, replaying yesterday's conversations, or imagining scenarios that will probably never happen. Here's the problem with mental time travel. The past is already finished and cannot be changed, no matter how much you think about it. The future hasn't happened yet and might unfold completely differently than you expect. But your brain treats memories and imaginary scenarios as if they're happening right now, flooding your body with stress hormones and emotional reactions that have nothing to do with your current reality. Think about the last time you felt truly peaceful and content. I guarantee you weren't thinking about your past mistakes or future problems in that moment. You were completely present, fully engaged with whatever was happening right then. This is where happiness actually lives, not in the stories your mind tells about other times and places, but in your direct experience of this moment. The ancient Stoics discovered that most human suffering comes from living everywhere except the present. They noticed that people who stayed grounded in the here and now experienced less anxiety, made better decisions, and felt more connected to life itself. They developed specific techniques to anchor their attention in the present moment, especially during times of stress and overwhelm. Modern neuroscience has validated this ancient wisdom. Studies show that people who practice present moment awareness have lower cortisol levels, better emotional regulation, and improved overall mental health. When you train your mind to stay in the present, you literally rewire your brain to be calmer and more resilient. But here's what most mindfulness teachings get wrong. They tell you to just be present without giving you a practical method for actually doing it. When you're overwhelmed, anxious, or spinning with thoughts, you can't just flip a switch and suddenly become mindful. You need a concrete technique that works quickly and reliably to bring your scattered attention back to the here and now. The technique I'm about to share with you is like an emergency brake for your mental time machine. It works by engaging your 5 senses, which can only perceive what's happening right now. Your senses don't work in the past or future. They only work in the present moment. When you deliberately activate all 5 senses, you anchor your entire nervous system in the current moment. Technique number 7 out of 15 is called the present moment anchor technique. When you feel overwhelmed, you name 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear, 3 things you can touch, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This grounds you in the present moment and stops mental time travel to past regrets or future anxieties. Here's your step-by-step process. The moment you notice your mind spinning with worry, stress, or overwhelm, stop what you're doing and engage this technique. First, look around and identify 5 things you can see. Really focus on them. Notice their colors, shapes, and details. Say them out loud or in your mind. I see the blue coffee mug, the yellow sticky note, the green plant, the wooden desk, and the white wall. Next, tune into your hearing and identify 4 sounds. These might be background noises you weren't consciously aware of. I hear the air conditioning humming, traffic outside, my own breathing, and someone talking in the next room. Then identify 3 things you can physically touch right now. Actually touch them and notice the texture, temperature, or weight. I feel the smooth surface of my phone, the soft fabric of my shirt, and the cool armrest of this chair. Now identify 2 things you can smell. This might require taking a conscious breath through your nose. I smell coffee and the faint scent of my hand lotion. Finally, notice 1 thing you can taste. This might be lingering flavors in your mouth or the neutral taste of your saliva. This entire process takes less than 2 minutes, but it immediately brings your scattered attention back to the present moment. Your anxiety decreases, your thinking becomes clearer, and you remember that right now, in this moment, you're actually okay. Are you ready to escape the mental time machine and find peace in the present? 8. The Virtue Scorecard System. Here's a shocking truth about personal growth that most people never discover. You've been measuring your progress all wrong, and it's keeping you stuck in cycles of frustration and disappointment. Right now, you probably judge your success based on things like money earned, weight lost, followers gained, or achievements unlocked. But here's the problem with these external measurements. They're completely outside your control, and they tell you nothing about who you're actually becoming as a person. You can work incredibly hard and still not get the promotion. You can eat perfectly and still not lose weight due to medical issues. You can create amazing content and still not gain followers because of algorithm changes. When you measure success by outcomes you can't control, you're setting yourself up for constant disappointment and a deep sense that you're never doing enough. But what if there was a completely different way to measure progress? What if you could track metrics that are entirely within your control and actually indicate whether you're becoming the person you want to be? What if you could create a scoring system that makes personal growth feel like a game you can actually win? The ancient Stoics figured this out 2,000 years ago. They realized that the only meaningful progress is internal progress. They focused on developing character traits that no external circumstance could touch. They became obsessed with building virtue, not because they were trying to be perfect, but because virtue was the only thing they could actually control and improve every single day. The Stoics identified 4 core virtues that encompass everything needed for a fulfilling life. Wisdom means making good decisions and learning from experience. Justice means treating others fairly and contributing to society. Courage means facing challenges without being controlled by fear. Temperance means having self-discipline and not being controlled by impulses. These 4 qualities determine the quality of your character and your life experience. Here's what makes this approach revolutionary. You can practice these virtues regardless of your circumstances. You can be wise whether you're rich or poor. You can be just whether you're powerful or powerless. You can be courageous whether you're facing big challenges or small ones. You can be temperate whether you're surrounded by temptations or living simply. Your virtue score is always within your control. This creates an entirely different relationship with personal development. Instead of feeling frustrated because external results aren't matching your efforts, you feel accomplished because you're consistently building character. Instead of comparing yourself to others based on achievements, you compete with yourself based on integrity. Instead of feeling powerless when circumstances change, you feel empowered because your progress doesn't depend on external conditions. Technique number 8 out of 15 is called the Virtue Scorecard System. You rate yourself daily on the 4 Stoic virtues: wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. You give yourself a score of 1 to 10 for each virtue. This gamifies personal growth and provides clear daily targets for improvement. Here's how to implement this life-changing system. Every evening before bed, reflect on your day and rate yourself on each virtue using a scale of 1 to 10. For wisdom, ask yourself, did I make thoughtful decisions today? Did I learn something new? Did I think before reacting? Did I seek to understand before seeking to be understood? Rate your wisdom for the day. For justice, consider, was I fair in my interactions with others? Did I contribute something positive to the world? Did I treat people with respect, regardless of their status? Did I stand up for what's right, even when it was difficult? Rate your justice for the day. For courage, reflect. Did I face my fears instead of avoiding them? Did I speak up when something important was at stake? Did I persist through difficulties? Did I choose the harder right over the easier wrong? Rate your courage for the day. For temperance, examine. Did I exercise self-discipline with food, spending, time, or other temptations? Did I stay calm under pressure? Did I choose long-term benefits over short-term pleasure? Did I maintain balance in my reactions and decisions? Rate your temperance for the day. Keep track of these scores for 30 days and watch what happens. You'll start making decisions based on how they'll affect your virtue scorecard. You'll begin each day thinking about how to improve yesterday's scores. You'll develop internal motivation that doesn't depend on external validation. Most importantly, you'll start becoming the person you've always wanted to be, one day at a time. Are you ready to start playing the only game that actually matters? 9. The internal scoreboard mindset. Here's a brutal truth about why you might feel empty despite achieving things that should make you happy. You've been keeping score using someone else's scoreboard, and it's rigged against your peace of mind. Right now, you probably measure your worth based on external validation. Likes on social media, approval from others, salary compared to friends, or achievements that look impressive from the outside. But here's the devastating problem with this approach. You'll never have enough external validation to fill the internal void. Think about the last time you got external recognition for something. Maybe you received a compliment, got promoted, or achieved a goal you'd been working toward. How long did that good feeling last? A few hours? A few days? Then what happened? You needed more validation, didn't you? You needed the next achievement, the next compliment, the next proof that you were worthy. This cycle never ends because you're trying to solve an internal problem with external solutions. The people who seem most confident and content aren't necessarily the most successful by society's standards. They're the people who've learned to measure themselves by internal standards that they actually control. They've stopped asking, "What will people think?" and started asking, "What kind of person am I becoming?" They've switched from an external scoreboard that changes constantly to an internal scoreboard that remains steady regardless of circumstances. This shift changes everything about how you experience life. When you measure yourself by external standards, you're essentially giving other people control over your self-worth. Your mood depends on their reactions. Your confidence depends on their approval. Your sense of success depends on their recognition. You become like a puppet whose strings are pulled by everyone around you. But when you develop an internal scoreboard, you become free. Free from the exhausting need to impress others. Free from the anxiety of wondering what people think. Free from the disappointment when external achievements don't bring lasting satisfaction. You start living from the inside out instead of the outside in. The ancient Stoics understood this principle deeply. They realized that true success couldn't be measured by wealth, status, or popularity, because all of those things could be lost through circumstances beyond their control. Instead, they measured success by character qualities that no one could take away from them. They asked questions like, "Am I becoming wiser? Am I treating people with kindness? Am I facing my fears with courage? Am I living according to my values?" This internal measurement system created a completely different type of confidence. Instead of the fragile confidence that comes from external validation, they developed unshakable confidence that came from knowing they were becoming the person they wanted to be. Their self-worth wasn't dependent on other people's opinions because it was based on their own character development. Modern psychology has proven that people with strong internal locus of control are happier, more resilient, and more successful in the long run. They set goals based on their own values rather than societal expectations. They persist through challenges because their motivation comes from within. They maintain stable self-esteem because it's not dependent on external circumstances. Technique number 9 out of 15 is the internal scoreboard mindset. You stop measuring success by external validation and start tracking internal metrics. How calm did you stay under pressure? How kind were you to difficult people? How present were you during conversations? This shifts your entire value system. Here's how to implement this transformation. At the end of each day, instead of reviewing external achievements, review internal performance. Ask yourself these questions. How well did I manage my emotions today? Did I respond to stress with wisdom or react with impulse? How present was I in my conversations? Did I really listen to others or just wait for my turn to speak? How compassionate was I toward people who annoyed me? Create specific internal metrics that matter to you. Rate yourself on patience during difficult moments. Measure how often you chose long-term thinking over short-term impulses. Track how frequently you acted from love rather than fear. Count the moments when you chose understanding over being right. The beautiful thing about internal scorekeeping is that you always have opportunities to improve your score. Got impatient with your child this morning? You can practice patience this afternoon. Reacted defensively to criticism at work? You can practice openness during your next feedback conversation. Failed to stay present during lunch with a friend? You can be fully engaged during tonight's family dinner. This shift from external to internal measurement creates profound changes in your daily experience. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances and start feeling like the author of your character. You stop needing other people's approval and start trusting your own judgment. You stop feeling empty after achievements and start feeling fulfilled by growth. Are you ready to take control of your own scoreboard? 10. The philosophical journaling method. Here's something that will shock you about your own mind. You're having thousands of thoughts every day, experiencing dozens of emotions, and encountering countless situations that could teach you valuable lessons about life. But almost all of this wisdom is disappearing without a trace. Your mind is like a leaky bucket that can't hold on to the insights that could transform your life if you just knew how to capture them. Most people live the same day over and over again without learning from their experiences. They make the same mistakes repeatedly, react to stress the same way every time, and miss opportunities for growth that are hiding in plain sight. They go to bed each night with a head full of experiences, but no clear understanding of what those experiences are trying to teach them. But what if you could change this? What if you could develop a system that captures the wisdom from every day and turns your life experiences into a personal curriculum for becoming the person you want to be? What if you could learn from your mistakes so effectively that you rarely make the same one twice? The ancient Stoics discovered that experience alone isn't enough to create wisdom. You need reflection to transform experience into understanding. They developed a practice of daily self-examination that helped them extract maximum learning from minimum experience. They would review their days not to judge themselves harshly, but to understand themselves deeply. This practice of philosophical reflection was considered so important that Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, spent time every day writing down his thoughts about how to live better. His personal journal, which we now call Meditations, shows how daily reflection helped him deal with stress, manage difficult people, and stay true to his values despite enormous pressures. Modern neuroscience has proven that reflection is essential for learning and growth. When you take time to consciously process your experiences, you strengthen the neural pathways that help you make better decisions in the future. Reflection literally rewires your brain to recognize patterns, learn from mistakes, and develop wisdom. The problem is that most people either don't reflect at all, or they reflect in destructive ways. They ruminate on problems without seeking solutions, criticize themselves without learning lessons, or replay negative experiences without extracting positive insights. This kind of reflection makes things worse, not better. Effective reflection follows a specific structure that turns daily experiences into actionable wisdom. It looks for patterns, celebrates progress, identifies areas for improvement, and creates clear action steps for tomorrow. It's like having a personal coach who helps you become better at life by learning from your own experiences. Technique number 10 out of 15 is the philosophical journaling method. You write 3 entries each night. What went well today and why? What could you have handled better? What did you learn about yourself? This reflection process rewires your brain to extract wisdom from every experience. Here's your exact framework for transforming your days into personal development gold. Every evening, spend 10 minutes writing answers to these 3 questions. First, what went well today and why did it go well? This isn't just gratitude journaling. This is success analysis. Look for the specific actions, attitudes, or decisions that created positive outcomes. Maybe you stayed calm during a difficult conversation because you took deep breaths before responding. Maybe you had a productive meeting because you prepared thoroughly. Identify the cause and effect relationships so you can repeat successful patterns. Second, what could you have handled better today? This isn't self-criticism. This is opportunity identification. Look for moments when you reacted instead of responding, when you let emotions drive your decisions, or when you missed chances to grow. Maybe you got defensive when someone gave you feedback. Maybe you procrastinated on an important task. Maybe you were distracted during quality time with loved ones. The goal is awareness, not judgment. Third, what did you learn about yourself today? Look for insights about your patterns, triggers, strengths, and areas for growth. Maybe you noticed that you make better decisions when you're well-rested. Maybe you discovered that you're more creative in the morning. Maybe you realized that certain people or situations consistently bring out your worst reactions. The magic happens when you review these entries weekly and monthly. You'll start seeing patterns you never noticed before. You'll identify specific triggers that consistently create problems. You'll recognize which strategies actually work for you versus which ones just sound good in theory. You'll develop deep self-knowledge that allows you to design a life that works with your nature instead of against it. After 30 days of this practice, you'll have a personal manual for living well, based on your own real experiences. Are you ready to turn your life into your greatest teacher? Part 11. The Amor Fati, Acceptance Training. There's a perspective shift so radical that it can transform your worst day into your most valuable day. But it requires you to embrace something that goes against every natural instinct you have. Right now, when something goes wrong in your life, your automatic response is probably to resist it, fight it, or wish it hadn't happened. This resistance creates a second layer of suffering on top of whatever you're already dealing with. Think about the last time something genuinely difficult happened to you. Maybe you got sick, faced a setback at work, or had a conflict with someone important to you. How much of your suffering came from the actual event, and how much came from your mental resistance to the event? How much energy did you waste thinking, "This shouldn't be happening," or "Why me?" or "This ruins everything"? Here's the life-changing truth that most people never discover. The events in your life are neutral. They only become positive or negative based on the meaning you assign to them. The same experience that devastates one person can strengthen another person, not because the event was different, but because their interpretation was different. You have more control over your experience than you realize, but this control comes through acceptance, not resistance. The ancient Stoics developed a concept so powerful that it can eliminate emotional suffering almost instantly. They called it Amor Fati, which means love of fate. This doesn't mean liking everything that happens to you. It means choosing to find value in everything that happens to you. It means training your mind to ask, "How can this serve me?" instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" This might sound impossible when you're facing real difficulties, but consider this. Every challenge you've overcome in the past has made you stronger, wiser, or more compassionate. Every setback has redirected you toward better opportunities. Every painful experience has taught you something valuable about yourself or life. The difficulties you resisted the most have often become the experiences you're most grateful for later. The problem is that you can only see this wisdom in hindsight. In the moment of difficulty, you're too focused on the pain to see the potential growth. But what if you could develop the ability to see the gift in the challenge while you're still experiencing it? What if you could train your mind to look for opportunities in obstacles from day 1 instead of year 5? This mental skill transforms your entire relationship with adversity. Instead of feeling like a victim of circumstances, you feel like a student of life. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" Instead of wasting energy fighting reality, you invest energy in learning from reality. Amor fati doesn't make painful experiences painless. It makes them purposeful. When you can find meaning in your struggles, they become bearable and even valuable. When you can see obstacles as opportunities for growth, they stop feeling like punishments and start feeling like gifts, even if they're gifts you didn't want. Technique number 11 out of 15 is Amor fati acceptance training. You practice saying, "This is exactly what I needed about every setback." You transform obstacles into opportunities by finding the hidden gift in every challenge. This reframes your entire relationship with adversity. Here's how to develop this life-changing mindset. The next time something goes wrong, instead of your usual resistance response, pause and ask yourself, "How might this experience serve my growth?" Start with small inconveniences to build this mental muscle. When you're stuck in traffic, consider how this forced pause might help you practice patience or give you time to think. When technology fails, see it as an opportunity to problem solve or connect with people directly. For bigger challenges, look for deeper lessons. If you face rejection, ask how this might redirect you towards something better suited for you. If you experience health problems, consider how this might teach you to prioritize what truly matters. If you lose something important, explore how this might help you appreciate what remains or discover inner resources you didn't know you had. The phrase that changes everything is, "This is exactly what I needed to learn right now." You don't have to believe this immediately, but practice saying it anyway. Your brain will start looking for evidence to support this statement, and gradually you'll begin to see possibilities where you previously saw only problems. This practice doesn't make you passive or resigned. It makes you powerful. When you stop fighting reality, you have all your energy available for responding wisely to reality. When you embrace what is, you can effectively work with what is. Are you ready to transform your relationship with difficulty forever? 12. The circle of choice. Expansion. Here's a liberating truth that can instantly free you from feeling trapped in any situation. Even when everything seems to be going wrong, even when you feel completely powerless, even when it seems like you have no options at all, you always have one thing that no person or circumstance can take away from you. You always have the power to choose your response. Most people live as if they're victims of their circumstances, as if their reactions are automatic and inevitable. They say things like, "You made me angry," or "This situation is making me stressed," or "I have no choice." But this victim mentality is an illusion that keeps you stuck and powerless. The truth is that between every stimulus and your response, there's a space where your freedom lives. Think about two people facing the exact same difficult situation. One person becomes bitter, angry, and defeated. The other person becomes stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. What's the difference? It's not their circumstances. It's their choices. It's how they decided to interpret the situation and how they chose to respond to it. The ancient Stoics understood that external circumstances have no inherent power over your inner state. They realized that freedom isn't about controlling what happens to you. Freedom is about controlling how you respond to what happens to you. This insight was so central to their philosophy that they built their entire approach to life around it. Marcus Aurelius, writing in his personal journal, reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He was the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, yet he understood that his real power didn't come from his external authority. It came from his ability to choose his responses to whatever life presented. This perspective transforms everything about how you experience difficult situations. When you remember that you always have choices, you stop feeling helpless and start feeling empowered. When you focus on what you can control instead of what you can't control, your energy shifts from anxiety to action. When you take responsibility for your responses, you reclaim your personal power. But here's what most people miss about choice. Your choices aren't just about big decisions or major life events. Every moment of every day, you're making choices that shape your character and your experience. You choose whether to be patient or impatient in traffic. You choose whether to listen carefully or wait for your turn to talk. You choose whether to focus on problems or look for solutions. These small choices might seem insignificant, but they add up to determine the quality of your life and the person you become. Every time you choose patience over anger, you become more patient. Every time you choose understanding over judgment, you become more understanding. Every time you choose courage over fear, you become more courageous. The problem is that most people don't even realize they're making these choices. They react automatically based on old patterns and habits, never stopping to consider what response would serve them best. They live on autopilot, missing thousands of opportunities every day to actively shape their character and their experience. Technique number 12 out of 15 is the circle of choice expansion. Throughout the day, you ask, "What choice do I have right now?" Even in the worst situations, you always have a choice in how you respond. This question puts you back in the driver's seat of your life. Here's how to implement this empowering practice. Set a reminder on your phone to go off several times throughout the day. When it sounds, pause whatever you're doing and ask yourself, "What choice do I have right now?" Don't just think about big decisions. Look for the small choices that are available in this moment. Maybe you're feeling frustrated about a work problem. Your choices might include taking deep breaths to stay calm, asking for help from a colleague, breaking the problem into smaller parts, or taking a brief walk to clear your head. Maybe you're having a difficult conversation with your partner. Your choices might include listening more carefully, asking clarifying questions, sharing your feelings honestly, or suggesting you both take a break to cool down. Even in situations where you feel completely stuck, you can choose your attitude, your focus, or your interpretation. You can choose to see obstacles as opportunities for growth. You can choose to view setbacks as redirections toward something better. You can choose to find meaning in suffering or lessons in failure. The more you practice recognizing your choices, the more choices you'll discover. You'll realize that you're never as powerless as you thought. You'll start living intentionally instead of reactively. You'll become the author of your own experience instead of a character in someone else's story. Are you ready to reclaim your power through conscious choice? 13. The preferred indifference. Classification. Here's a mind-bending question that will expose why you might be emotionally controlled by things that don't actually matter. If you lost your job tomorrow, would that make you a worse person? If you gained 20 pounds, would that change your character? If someone criticized you on social media, would that affect your actual worth as a human being? The obvious answer is no. But here's the problem. You probably don't live as if that's true. You probably feel stressed about money, anxious about your appearance, and upset by other people's opinions as if these things determine your value. You've been trained by society to believe that external circumstances define your worth, but this belief is making you miserable and keeping you trapped in emotional reactivity. Right now, you're probably giving the same emotional weight to things that truly matter and things that don't matter at all. You might feel equally upset about treating someone unkindly, which actually reflects your character, and about missing a career opportunity, which doesn't reflect your character. You might worry as much about what strangers think of you as you do about whether you're living according to your values. This confusion about what actually matters is the root cause of most emotional suffering. When you treat everything as equally important, you become overwhelmed and anxious about things you cannot control while neglecting the things you can control. You waste precious mental energy on externals while ignoring the internal work that would actually improve your life. The ancient Stoics solved this problem with a brilliant categorization system that instantly clarifies what deserves your emotional investment and what doesn't. They divided everything in life into three categories: virtue, vice, and indifference. Virtue includes character qualities like wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. These are truly good because they make you a better person and are entirely within your control. Vice includes character flaws like foolishness, injustice, cowardice, and lack of self-discipline. These are truly bad because they make you worse and are also within your control. Everything else is indifferent. Money, health, reputation, career success, other people's opinions, and even life itself are indifferent because they don't make you a better or worse person. You can be a good person whether you're rich or poor, healthy or sick, famous or unknown. These things are preferred indifference when they're pleasant, and dispreferred indifference when they're unpleasant. But they're still indifferent to your actual worth. This classification system is revolutionary because it puts your emotional energy where it belongs, on things that actually matter. When you truly understand that external circumstances are indifferent to your character, you stop being emotionally controlled by them. You can prefer good health without being devastated by illness. You can enjoy financial success without being destroyed by financial loss. You can appreciate compliments without needing approval for self-worth. This doesn't mean becoming indifferent to everything or not caring about outcomes. It means having the right emotional relationship with externals. You can work hard for promotion while understanding that not getting it doesn't diminish your worth. You can take care of your health while accepting that illness doesn't make you a failure. You can appreciate beauty while knowing that aging doesn't reduce your value. Technique number 13 out of 15 is the preferred indifference classification. You label everything as either virtue, which is truly good, vice, which is truly bad, or indifferent, which includes everything else like money, health, and reputation. This Stoic categorization prevents you from being emotionally controlled by things that don't actually matter. Here's how to practice this life-changing perspective. When you feel stressed, anxious, or upset about something, ask yourself, is this about virtue or vice, or is this an indifferent? If someone criticizes your work, that's an indifferent. What matters is whether you respond with wisdom and emotional regulation, which are virtues. If you don't get invited to a social event, that's an indifferent. What matters is whether you react with grace and understanding, which are virtues. Start applying this framework to your daily concerns. Worried about money? That's an indifferent. Focus instead on whether you're being prudent and hardworking, which are virtues. Stressed about your appearance? That's an indifferent. Focus on whether you're practicing self-acceptance and not judging others by their looks, which are virtues. Upset about someone's opinion of you? That's an indifferent. Focus on whether you're being authentic and kind, which are virtues. This classification system creates immediate emotional relief because it helps you invest your emotional energy wisely. You stop being devastated by externals and start being motivated by character development. You stop feeling like a victim of circumstances and start feeling like an architect of virtue. Are you ready to focus on what actually matters? Part 14. The View from Above. Perspective. There's a mental superpower that can instantly shrink your biggest problems down to their actual size. But using it requires you to zoom out so far that it might make you uncomfortable at first. Right now, whatever is stressing you out probably feels enormous and all-consuming. It's filling your entire mental field of vision like a movie screen, blocking out everything else and making it impossible to think about anything else. But what if you could step back from that movie screen? What if you could zoom out so far that your problems become tiny dots in a vast landscape of perspective? What if you could see your current situation from such a distance that you finally understand its true size and importance in the grand scheme of things? Most people live their entire lives zoomed in so close to their immediate concerns that they never develop cosmic perspective. They're like someone examining a single pixel on a massive painting, convinced that this one tiny dot is the most important thing in the universe. They can't see the bigger picture because they're standing too close to the canvas. This narrow perspective makes small problems feel catastrophic and temporary setbacks feel permanent. When you're zoomed in too close, a bad day feels like a bad life. A single failure feels like complete defeat. A moment of embarrassment feels like a lifetime of shame. You lose all sense of proportion because you've lost all sense of perspective. The ancient Stoics developed a mental exercise specifically designed to restore proper perspective when problems feel overwhelming. They called it the view from above, and it involves imagining yourself from increasingly distant vantage points until your problems shrink to their appropriate size. This wasn't just philosophical speculation for them, it was practical psychology for maintaining emotional balance. Marcus Aurelius regularly practiced this technique, writing in his journal about viewing human affairs from the perspective of the cosmos. He would imagine looking down at Rome from a great height, then from the moon, then from distant stars, until the empire he ruled appeared as a tiny speck in infinite space. This cosmic perspective helped him handle enormous responsibilities without being crushed by their apparent weight. Modern psychology has validated this ancient technique through research on psychological distance. Studies show that when people imagine viewing their problems from far away, in space or time, they experience immediate reductions in stress and anxiety. The problems don't disappear, but they return to their proper proportional size in the context of a larger life and a vast universe. This perspective shift works because it activates the same neural networks involved in creative problem-solving and emotional regulation. When you zoom out, your brain literally changes how it processes the situation. Instead of being trapped in emotional reactivity, you access calm reasoning. Instead of catastrophic thinking, you develop balanced perspective. The view from above also reveals something profound about the temporary nature of all problems. From cosmic perspective, you can see that your current difficulties are brief moments in a long life, which is itself a brief moment in human history, which is itself a brief moment in cosmic time. This doesn't minimize real suffering, but it prevents unnecessary suffering caused by losing perspective. Technique number 14 out of 15 is the view from above perspective. When you feel stressed, you zoom out and imagine viewing your problems from space. You see yourself as a tiny dot on a planet, spinning in an infinite universe. This cosmic perspective instantly shrinks your problems to their actual size. Here's exactly how to use this powerful technique. The next time you feel overwhelmed by a problem, close your eyes and begin zooming out mentally. First, imagine floating above your current location and looking down at yourself dealing with this issue. Notice how small you look from this height. Then zoom out further and see your entire neighborhood or city. Your problem is somewhere in that landscape, but you can barely see it now. Continue zooming out until you can see your entire country, then your continent, then the whole Earth floating in space. From this distance, can you even locate your problem? Keep going until you're viewing Earth from the distance of the Moon, then from the outer planets, then from outside the solar system entirely. From this cosmic vantage point, where is your stress about that work deadline or relationship conflict? This isn't about dismissing real problems or avoiding responsibility. It's about seeing problems in their proper context, so you can respond to them wisely instead of reactively. When you return to ground level, you'll still address the issue, but you'll do so with the calm confidence of someone who understands that no earthly problem is larger than your capacity to handle it. Are you ready to see your challenges from the perspective of the cosmos? 15. The 30-Day Identity Shift Protocol. Here's the final piece of the puzzle that will determine whether everything you've learned in this challenge actually transforms your life, or just becomes interesting information you forget. The difference between knowing these techniques and becoming someone who naturally lives by them comes down to one crucial factor: identity. Right now, you probably still see yourself as someone who struggles with stress, reacts emotionally, or gets overwhelmed by problems. But what if you could change that fundamental self-image? Your identity is the most powerful force shaping your behavior. You don't just act like the person you think you are, you actually become the person you think you are. If you see yourself as someone who's naturally anxious, you'll unconsciously look for evidence to support that identity. If you see yourself as someone who can't handle pressure, you'll give up more easily when things get difficult. Your self-image creates a self-fulfilling prophecy that either limits you or empowers you. But here's the incredible news. Your identity isn't fixed. It's not determined by your past, your genetics, or your circumstances. Your identity is determined by the story you tell yourself about who you are. And you can change that story, starting right now. Every time you act in alignment with a new identity, you gather evidence that this new version of yourself is real. The ancient Stoics understood this principle intuitively. They didn't just practice Stoic techniques, they identified as Stoic people. They didn't just try to be more courageous. They saw themselves as courageous individuals who occasionally felt fear but acted bravely anyway. They didn't just work on being wise, they embodied the identity of wise people who kept learning and growing. This identity-based approach is far more powerful than behavior-based change because it addresses the root cause of your actions, who you believe yourself to be. When you try to change behaviors without changing identity, you're fighting against your self-concept every step of the way. But when you change your identity first, the behaviors flow naturally from that new self-image. Modern neuroscience has revealed exactly how this works. Your brain has something called the reticular activating system, which filters information based on what it considers important to your identity. When you identify as a calm person, your brain starts noticing opportunities to practice calmness and evidence of your calm responses. When you identify as someone who responds wisely to challenges, your brain begins recognizing wise response options that were previously invisible to you. The key is making this identity shift explicit and intentional. Most people hope they'll gradually become different without clearly defining who they want to become. But vague intentions create vague results. You need to specifically declare your new identity and then consistently act in ways that support it. This process works through what psychologists call identity-based habits. Instead of saying, "I want to meditate," you say, "I am someone who meditates." Instead of, "I should be more patient," you declare, "I am someone who responds to frustration with patience." This subtle shift in language creates profound changes in behavior because you're not trying to do something foreign to your nature. You're simply acting in accordance with who you are. Technique number 15 out of 15 is the 30-day identity shift protocol. Each morning, you declare, "I am someone who," and fill in the Stoic quality you're building. "I am someone who remains calm under pressure." Your brain will seek evidence to support this new identity and gradually make it true. Here's your complete protocol for becoming the person you want to be. Every morning for the next 30 days, choose one Stoic quality and declare it as part of your identity. You might say, "I am someone who stays present in conversations," or "I am someone who responds to criticism with curiosity instead of defensiveness," or "I am someone who finds opportunities in obstacles." Throughout the day, look for chances to act in alignment with this declared identity. When pressure builds at work, remind yourself, "I am someone who remains calm under pressure," and then act accordingly. When someone interrupts you, think, "I am someone who responds with patience," and demonstrate that patience. When things don't go as planned, remember, "I am someone who adapts gracefully to change," and show that adaptability. Each evening, write down 3 pieces of evidence from your day that support your new identity. Maybe you took deep breaths before responding to a difficult email. Maybe you listened fully to someone's complaint without getting defensive. Maybe you found a creative solution when your original plan fell through. These pieces of evidence convince your brain that your new identity is real and authentic. After 30 days of this practice, you won't be someone who tries to be stoic. You'll be someone who is stoic. You won't be working against your nature. You'll be expressing your nature. Are you ready to become the person you've always wanted to be? Conclusion. And there you have it. 15 powerful techniques that have the ability to completely rewire your brain and transform how you experience life. But here's what I need you to understand. Information without implementation is just entertainment. You now have the same tools that helped Marcus Aurelius rule an empire while maintaining inner peace, that helped Epictetus find freedom while living as a slave, and that helped countless individuals throughout history build unshakable mental strength. The question isn't whether these techniques work. They've been tested by 2,000 years of human experience and validated by modern neuroscience. The question is whether you'll actually use them. Right now, you're at a crossroads. You can close this video and go back to the same mental patterns that have been creating stress and anxiety in your life. Or you can commit to 30 days of deliberate practice that will change your brain and your life forever. Start with just one technique that resonated most strongly with you. Maybe it was the reverse gratitude practice that made you realize how much abundance already surrounds you. Maybe it was the observer's self-split that showed you how to create space between yourself and your emotions. Maybe it was the view from above that helped you see your problems in proper perspective. Choose one technique and practice it consistently for the next 7 days. Don't try to do everything at once. Master one approach before adding another. Your brain needs time to build new neural pathways, and consistency is more important than intensity. Remember, you're not just learning techniques. You're becoming someone new. Someone who responds instead of reacts. Someone who finds opportunity in obstacles. Someone who lives with the unshakable confidence that comes from knowing you can handle whatever life brings your way. Your transformation starts with your very next decision. What will you choose?